Hey everyone, I'm Joe and today I'm doing a book review of The Continuous Katherine Mortenhoe, written by D.G. Compton. This was originally published in 1973, over 40 years ago now, and an alternative title for this is The Unsleeping Eye. I believe it was called this in America and a few other countries as well. This is a near-future science fiction book set in a world which has extremely advanced medical technology. People do not die from illness in this world. They still die from old age and from obviously serious accidents, but illness is not an option anymore. It's just too advanced to allow them to die. As a result, if anybody is ill for any reason, it is an extremely rare and really unique event. Now, the main character of the book is indeed the title of the book, Katherine Mortenhoe. She is a happily married 44-year-old woman. 44-year-old main protagonist is fairly unusual, and indeed it works well for many parts of the book. And quite simply, the premise of the book is that she one day finds out that she has an uncurable and untreatable fatal disease that within a fairly short time, in less than 6 months, it will kill her. Now this is obviously incredibly shocking to her, and it's shocking to everybody else. Unfortunately, because of what this news is, because how unusual it is, the media hear of it and they get very interested in this, because of course this is truly a unique event, because it hasn't happened for a long time, since technology became this advanced. So they want to talk to Katherine and find out her story, and more importantly, they want to basically record her last weeks and months of life until literally the moment of her death, which is frankly an incredibly disturbing idea, and indeed that is the main point of the novel. The other main character in the book is a cameraman called Roddy. At the start of the book, he takes an unusual step to have essentially a camera hooked up inside his eye, so everything he sees, his studio sees and records. So basically he's a mobile CCTV camera with sound included as well. He is tasked with the job of recording Katherine's last days and indeed her death, which again is extremely disturbing for both him and indeed you as the reader. In this world as well, the media is far less ethical than what our current media, which is frankly remarkable by itself, because ours is not exactly always the nicest media around as well. But in this, the media can be very aggressive and very pushy, and their legal rights are far more powerful. Frankly, you as an individual, you can get pushed around by the media far easier, and it leads to some very dark places, which obviously the book does explore in quite a lot of detail, and it's frankly remarkable for it because it explores it in ways that is, for the time it was written in 73, was remarkable, but it still applies extremely well to today. So 44 years have gone by and it still applies extremely well, and actually I think it might even apply better, frankly, today than when it was written, because obviously the media and internet and like smartphones and such has evolved into what they are now. So global communication and global self-presence has grown. So this book is more relevant than ever before by a long, long way. Now, the plot sounds dark, and indeed it is, mostly. The main character, Katherine, her journey is basically one of self-discovery and one of trying to find dignity in the last days of her life, because she never expected, due to the way that this world works now, of dying before she reaches a fairly good old age, unless there's obviously unfortunate accidents, which I get the impression that even accidents that actually lead to death are fairly rare as well. It's really old age more than anything else. So she's coming to terms with that. She's also happily married, so she's trying to leave behind something for her husband. It's also a journey for the cameraman, which is obviously part of your viewpoint. The view is both her eyes and his. It's all sort of recorded and it's truly through somebody else's eyes. You know, in some cases, obviously, Roddy's is actually recorded and edited and made to be something different, which is frankly peculiar, but done really, really well. And Roddy's journey is, of course, that he's tasked to go and follow her around, you know, and watch the last days of her life and indeed her death. But he realises, as he's starting to do it, that this is not a right thing. You know, it's not morally right, and it's not ethically right. I mean, how can you follow somebody around when they are dying and indeed watch them die against their will? She doesn't want this to happen, but she almost can't stop it. And it's just a really disturbing idea that the media has got such a power, that the legal system has, frankly, I would say, has failed in such a catastrophic way, that people have got remarkably limited rights now on what is, you know, you and what you are allowed to do in this world. Because if the media can just sort of push you around, then your basic human rights is basically much less than what we've got today. I think they need to be more than what we've got today. So this is like human rights badly reduced, and explores it in a really interesting way. And I just love this book, frankly. I mean, as you can tell by my enthusiasm for it, it's dark, yes, and disturbing in many, many ways, but it really makes you think about ethics, about morality, about the way media and indeed our presence in the world today interact with each other. And basically this is an ideas book, frankly. Yes, the characters are good, the setting is good, the way the plot goes along and the way everything works in the book is all good, but it's about ideas and it's about the questions that the book asks you. I love books like this because it makes you think and stop and think, right, hang on, if that were to happen, then what would this character's rights be? What would their reactions be? And what would my reactions be if I was in that place? And it's a really interesting one. It just makes you think a lot. And for that, I would really rank this book extremely highly. I mean, I didn't really know too much about this book, frankly, when I picked it up. I knew a few vague ideas about it, and I knew it was fairly well regarded, but that's pretty much it. And I'm really glad that I picked it up because it is, frankly, amazing in many ways. You know, a bit disturbing, but still amazing, nevertheless. I would heavily recommend this to anyone and everyone, basically, if you want to explore ethics and morals and want to read a book that, whilst it may have been written over 40 years ago, it still feels completely relevant today. It explores the way we interact with each other and indeed the way we put ourselves into the world. What with obviously things like, well, obviously what I'm doing now with YouTube, with Twitter, with Instagram, with every other social media platform, we are now in the world more than ever before. And this is by our self-choice, by our self-determination. In this book, Katherine doesn't have this choice. She's been actively hounded by the media and she's been basically put on the equivalent of Facebook and YouTube and things against her will. And it's like, where do we draw the line if this situation were to occur, really? Because it's really hard to determine in some ways, because you think, oh, I mean, yes, it is an interesting human interest story as far as the media is concerned, indeed as far as, you know, the normal everyday public is concerned. But you shouldn't be allowed to go about it this way. You know, you should, yes, ask people if they would mind, but this is not asking. This is, you know, using bully boy tactics and forcing the issues, which is disturbing and extremely thoughtfully written. And frankly, I'm very eager to read more books by Compton now that I've read this, because this was remarkable. It really was. Actually, it made me think of another book that I read last year, which is High Rise by J.G. Ballard, which is still as disturbing and still as brilliant, but in a very different way. Anyway, I'll finish with that. So basically a brilliant book that I would recommend to everybody, to put it succinctly. So if you've read this, or indeed have read anything else by Compton, then please leave a comment. If you have any suggestions of books that you think I might be interested in reading based on this book, you know, sort of similar ideas, then again, please leave them, because I'm always interested to discover new authors and new books inside new ways of thinking, frankly. And with that, that is it for this video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.